Talk about corpus linguistics. And I know that for most of you it's a very dry topic, but for me as a vocabulary guy and somebody who's really into tech, I think there's a lot of interesting things going on. So what I'd like to do is just give you a brief introduction to what corpus linguistics is, and then maybe a couple of interesting tools. Well, I looked online and I looked for a definition of corpus linguistics, and one of them was a larger complete collection of writings like the corpus of Old English poetry, but the second one, the body of a person or animal, especially when dead, that sounds more like a corpse, not a corpus. And so I thought I was really kind of intrigued by that definition. But for our purposes for today, here's a definition related to real corpus linguistics. And that's basically a collection of texts that's supposed to be representative of a given language, put together for the purpose of linguistic analysis. It should be naturally occurring for the most part and have some kind of explicit design criteria. It's a big mouthful. So really what we'll do is we'll just say that for the purpose of this particular presentation, it's just a large bunch of texts. So if you're doing academic, if you want an academic word list, you have a whole bunch of texts that are academic texts, and you'll get an output of an academic word list. And so the idea of pulling text together, there's so many different kinds of corpora, and I don't think I can go through these really quickly, but written versus spoken, general versus specialized, monolingual versus multilingual, annotated versus unannotated, and synchronic versus diachronic. Such a weird kind of corpus that I actually put in a whole nother slide for diachronic, because a diachronic corpus is a corpus that actually you can track the change of English over time. In this case, we're talking about Sumerian literature over a period of 2,500 years, and you can search and access and see how language use has changed over those 2,500 years. But when you're doing corpus linguistics, there's something that you have to be careful about, and that's what I like to call whippy-wygo. It reminds you of WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. But in the case of corpus linguistics, it's what you put in is what you get out. And so on the one side, you see a whole bunch of text going in, and if those texts are not carefully selected, the output for vocabulary list is not very good. I've been working on a bunch of different corpus linguistic projects over the years. One is a business English word list for a TV show in Japan. English Central, which you see at this conference, has got a really amazing tagged video corpus. New General Service List I'll be presenting about tomorrow. The new academic word list will be coming out next month. These are for the Cambridge corpus. This is the New General Service List. This is a core English, 2,800 words, gives about 90% coverage of all the words that your students need. There's a nice little website there that tells you all about it in much more detail. But when you make a corpus and when you want to try and create a word list, you actually have to work with some tools. And basically the first thing, of course, is you need a corpus. But in addition to that, you need a kind of a search engine, which we call a concordancing tool, and then the output is a concordance. So what does a concordance look like? If you do a search for the word language, for example, what would happen is that within that corpus you would get lots and lots of different examples of that word that would be authentic examples from within that corpus. Now this is very interesting for researchers and for teachers, but not necessarily so interesting for students. And Tom Cobb has a really cool website called the Complete Lexical Tutor, and what he's done is tried to think about what you can do with a concordance like that for students. And what he's done here, I took the example of the word argument, discussion, and fight, and you can see it's blanked out in the middle, and what the students have to do is they work with each other and they discuss and they look at the corpus and they try and figure out which word, argument, discuss, and fight, goes in which corpus. And I thought that was very nice. What we do at English Central with the video corpus is kind of interesting. If any of you know the old Monty Python skit for the Argument Clinic, it's a very cute skit, but what if you didn't know the word argument? Well, in a video corpus, what you would do is you would click on the word argument, and this would take you to an online dictionary that would allow you to sort of course, see what the definition for argument is. But in a tagged video corpus, you can see that little 72 over there. That means that within our corpus, we have 72 examples, video examples of the word argument being used in different video clips. So you would click on the thumbnail, click the start button, and it would randomly select 20 short clips. And so you would see, for example, Steve Jobs in one of his speeches using the word argue, a very short clip from a TED Talk where the word argue is used, Voice of America where the word argue is used, Patricia Kuhl, a famous linguist, and so on and so forth. So the idea is to sort of contextualize language learning. And this video corpus is kind of very fun for students. Another really cool tool that Tom has is the keyword extractor. And what this does is it compares the frequency of words in a text that you want to analyze and compares that with a general corpus. And for this case, what I've done is the corpus of Dracula. I've popped Dracula into the text box, and what you see here, you just push a button and boom, you see the top 30 or 40 words that occur more frequently in Dracula than in a regular English text. So the word castle, for example, occurs 524 times more often in Dracula than in another text. And so this is a very quick and easy corpus tool that you can use to prepare and choose words for the classroom. Another really cool tool is word clouds. And what you see here, word clouds are very nice because it's a visual representation of frequency of words within a corpus. Down in the bottom right, you see Romeo and Juliet. In the top left, you see West Side Story. And you can imagine going into the classroom and using these, for example, as pre-teaching activities, getting students to guess. OGTE is a tool that Rob Waring and I have developed that is also a corpus-driven tool, which allows you to take a text, in this case I think it's Moby Dick, and compare it against a frequency word list, in this case the new general service list that I've just made, and you get to instantly see which words are in list and out of list, and that can help you to simplify. The last slide is called Google's Ngram tool, and I think this is a very appropriate last slide because what this does is it allows you to track the frequency of words over time, and the three words that I've chosen is Coca-Cola, amphetamine, and cocaine, and I feel like I've kind of ingested all three of them in the past 6 minutes because I'm kind of all buzzing right now. Thank you very much.